Wellness Warriors, I'm opening a can of worms today. I'm going to stir the pot. Do I eat junk food? It's a question that I get all the time. Do I have cheat meals? Do I eat off plan? How often do I eat junk food? Is a question that implies that everyone does it, right? Do I allow myself to have fun after asking me if I've eaten junk food? That implies you can't have fun without eating junk food. So let's get this started by me pointing out the fact that I love having fun. If I'm not working or making videos, what am I doing? I'm riding one of my toys, or I'm snowboarding, or I'm doing fun things. I'm climbing. I love having fun. But the first thing we need to clarify here today is that food is not for fun. And if you have foods that you need to have to feel like you're having fun, you're in a terrible relationship with food. Yep, I'm saying that out loud. You're using food in a way that's going to maintain your excess weight. It's going to keep you in a poor health scenario. It's going to keep you frustrated with the choices you're making about your food, because most people who are watching my channel are trying to lose weight, are trying to get their health in a good place. And if you're using food to entertain yourself, you're making a huge mistake. You need to prioritize health over the fun tastes of food. If you're excessively chasing food, you need to see that you're behaving exactly like the person who's excessively chasing wine, right? And we would be all looking at each other and saying, like, that person's out of control, right? We wouldn't sit there and say, oh, that's normal, that's natural because it's after 6 o'clock, right? There's something inherently difficult. There's something inherently dangerous, not even difficult, dangerous about someone who feels like putting something in their mouth is what's going to help them to be happy. So we need to be very clear about this. I'm starting this video strong because I want us to get through the next month without coming out the other side 50 pounds heavier, aching joints, not feeling good. That's not the way that I want to celebrate my holidays, right? Feeling horrible afterwards. So getting back to the topic, do I eat junk food, right? But the answer is actually in the question. Why would I eat junk? The fact that it's called junk food, no, I don't eat junk food. And can we even just talk for a minute about why this question is even asked? It's because we're programmed to ask this question. Oh, you're eating really healthy. Do you eat junk food? It's like those two things are connected together somehow. Why is that question connected together? Because the real question that they're asking you is, do you cheat on your diet? And why is that question asked? Because everyone cheats, right? Right? Everyone cheats. You cheat on your spouse. You cheat on tests. No, you cheat on your diet, right? Because nobody is perfect, right? Of course not. Nobody's perfect. So therefore you must cheat on your diet. Wellness Warrior, can we just acknowledge that we are confusing the fact that we aren't perfect with this different idea of allowing and even encouraging bad behavior? Because I don't need to be perfect to not cheat on my diet. But cheating on my diet isn't an accident. It's not something that's happening out of my control, because that's what not being perfect is, right? Not being perfect is, we're talking about the fact that everybody makes mistakes. But cheating on your diet is not a mistake. But we use this idea as a way to get around doing what we're supposed to do. So, for example, Because it's impossible to know exactly what's in every single thing on a restaurant menu, right? It looks like it's obvious. Like, okay, for example, if I order a hamburger, you would think you're going to get a beef patty, some lettuce, some tomato, some slices of bread. That should be obvious. Well, here's something interesting. Is it possible that there's other things inside of that beef patty that's not beef? Not even is it possible, it's absolutely the case. There's always more than that in there. Okay, so throw that out because that's junk food. Let's say if I go to a restaurant and I order a steak with a side of vegetables right? And now that's not a cheat, right? But what spices did I put on it? Have you ever, because I know I've gone to the restaurant and ordered something that I thought was going to taste savory, and then I take a bite and it tastes sweet. Now, did I expect that? No, I just ordered the meal that looked to me like it was making. So, of course, we all make mistakes. But if we look at that story and say, oh, because we can't know what the restaurant is putting in their spices or how they're doing their whatever, that means that, and I go out to eat, I'm shooting the dice. No, it doesn't. That's not an excuse to not ask questions. That only had to happen to me once for me to really start grilling the waitress on how do you spice your meat? What flavors are we going for here? And then all of a sudden you start getting knowledge that, oh, well, they use the best quality maple syrup. No, I don't want maple syrup on my meat. You need to be willing to ask questions. Because it's rude, right, to say no to our hosts when they offer us, something. It's rude. So therefore we end up taking the cookie or the soda and actually consuming it. Because heaven forbid I be rude and say no to my host. What are we trying to? That's an excuse. Well, I need us all to see that these are excuses that we give ourselves to do the wrong behavior, right? I can't be the only one there not holding a drink. That's an excuse, right? What if you had a drinking problem and someone offers you a glass of wine? Are you going to take that glass of wine because, oh, it's rude, or because, oh, I don't want to not look like everybody else? Or are you going to be like, you know what? No, I don't do that anymore. It's frustrating to me because these excuses cause us to harm our health when the reason that we're doing any of this is because we're trying to improve our health. I want us to put the excuses down. And I get frustrated about this, especially because I've heard doctors, some of them keto, at least keto-focused doctors, the doctors that talk about the benefits of eating low carb and healthy keto carnivore lifestyles. I've heard those same doctors say things like they would eat an unhealthy food because their kid made it and they didn't want to hurt their kid's feelings. So their kid makes them cookies or brings them a bowl of ice cream or whatever the thing is that the kid is like, oh, here you go. Trying to be cute and good, right? Whatever. But you don't want to hurt the kid's feelings. Wellness warrior. That is a misguided idea. Here's why. First of all, if your kid made you a peanut butter sandwich and you're allergic, having anaphylactic reactions to peanut butter, are you eating the sandwich? No. Right away, you can see the right answer is to say no to the food, but thank you to the child, right? Let the child feel good. Oh my goodness, thank you, sweetheart. If the child is old enough, you'll explain to them, mommy can't eat peanut butter because I have allergies, but thank you so much for making me a meal. I appreciate that. And maybe I'll even take the kid back to the kitchen and show them what I can eat because I'm not going to eat the thing that's going to harm me. What we want to do, even when it's with our children, is model the right behavior for that child from day one. Because the flip side of the coin is you want the child to only eat what's healthy for them. And you're going to spend a lot of time teaching them what they're supposed to eat. But then you turn around and teach them, but you don't eat that if it's a special occasion, or but you don't eat that if everybody else isn't doing that, or but whatever wrong thing that we've created to give ourselves excuses so that we can eat off plan because everybody eats off. Stop it. We need to stop it. It's not true. So let's define junk food, right? Because I'm going to answer the question, does Violet eat junk food? That's the question in front of me. So let's define the question. Do I eat junk food? So junk food, cakes, cookies, chocolate, ice cream, chips, crackers, granola bars, fruit, or any other fun snack food. First of all, it's a fun snack food. So therefore, I don't snack. Part one of why I don't eat junk foods, or those junk foods that I just named there. I don't snack. Second of all, too high in sugar. Anything that is going to go past 20 grams of carbs, for myself, 18 grams of carbs, I'm not even going to touch because 18 is my max. So a granola bar, a piece of fruit, a cookie, probably one cookie, maybe a cookie and a half. All these things are going to be immediately putting me to my 18 grams of carb max. Anything that has little or no nutritional value, especially compared to a meal, I don't eat. Again, going back to the fact that these things are typically junky, right? Are typically eaten between meals. Now, this is the other piece of the puzzle. Because these things are typically eaten between meals, they cause insulin spikes. And because they're sugary and eaten between meals, they cause extra insulin spikes that are super high, that are unnecessary. So those things that I've just listed, clearly I would not eat. I have not eaten in over 4 years. And I'm saying 4 years because keto cookies, so peanut butter cookies and that kind of stuff, I have had so it's been only 4 years since I've had that. Yeah, I would say that would be the last thing. Okay, so let's move on, as I'm rambling here. Any processed food. So if my definition of processed food, because everybody's going to have a different definition, and then I'm going to have the purists who are going to say, oh, but everything that we eat is processed because it's coming from, so because fruits technically are processed, they get washed, they get cleaned, whatever. So I get that. So any processed food, and in my definition, if there are 5 or more ingredients on the package, that's a processed food. And if of the 5 ingredients on the package, there's a word that I don't understand and can't pronounce and it looks chemically, that's still a processed food, even if there's 5 ingredients. All bread, all pasta-based meals automatically become processed food. So I'm not eating that. So the exception I'm thinking about is sometimes I will buy vegetables that are mixed vegetables, but they're only vegetables, right? There's no I can see on it. So there might be 6 vegetables or 7 vegetables, 8, but if I can read every name of the vegetable, I'm still going to say that that's not considered processed food for me. Okay. Any healthy food that's high in sugar, I don't eat. This is where things like rice come into the story. 1 cup of rice is 48.4 grams of carb net. 1 glass of milk is 11.7 grams of carb-ish. So it can be, a little bit less, maybe like 10 up to, skim milk is 12. So, but I just rounded, I did the average. Cashews, another, and any nuts, but my weakness is cashews, so I'm going to tell you about cashews, but any nuts that are higher in carb. And so here's where it gets tricky for me, Wellness Warrior, because my definition is interesting. An ounce of cashews is 8.4 grams of net carb. But here's what's frustrating to me. It might not be frustrating to you, but it's frustrating to me. That's a snack. So it's a little snack, 8.4 grams, which is just under half of what I'm allowed to have for the day. And to me, that's too high. Now, some other people might say, well, it's not too high, or I'm going to have it with my meal. To me, it's still too high. The other problem, though, with cashews falls into the thing where it causes me, Violet, to chase, because when I eat it, I can taste the sweet in them, and then that gets my cephalic, my brain response going. So, the other two I eliminated because there's no way I can keep them in my diet because they would push me over my daily carbs, right? So if I tried to have, now here's the thing. If I tried to have rice, well, rice can't even because it's 48. If I tried to have milk at 11.2, and even if I wanted that to be the only thing I was having, so am I just drinking a glass of milk? I don't see the value in that. And by the way, the purpose of milk is to gain weight. So if I'm trying to manage my weight, why would I be drinking milk? So it's a whole other conversation. There's lots of doctors that talk about the purpose of milk and why are adults drinking milk? Are we actually trying to gain weight? The logic isn't there. But the other thing here is that I don't go over my daily carbs, right? Going over your daily carbs eventually causes a problem. Wellness warrior, we need to stop pretending like the things that are true aren't true. If you go over your daily carb count regularly, which is what happens to me when I allow cashews into my life, just saying, but I could see it with any food that would be higher in carb because it would get that cephalic response going. It would get that dopamine hit going. It would get all these things going that cause you to start chasing, right? So your weight's going to go up. But the more important problem that is happening that nobody seems to care about is that your internal damage resumes. Internal damage is much more important than my weight going up. I don't understand why we focus so much on weight when internal damage is happening. So chasing junk food because I've let it back into my life, not a smart thing for me to do. Now, another thing that I consider junk food, that I know a lot of people won't necessarily agree with me, but I consider this junk food. Any food that you're allergic to should be considered junk food. Have you learned to see food that you're allergic to as junk? Have you? First of all, I would love, put what you're allergic to in the comments and tell me, do you feel jealous of those foods when you see other people eating those things, right? Are you like that's garbage, which is how I look at it? Or are you looking at it like, oh man, you're so lucky because you get to eat this thing? Because honestly, I don't understand it. I've seen people who violently, when they eat dairy, and then they're like, oh man, you're so lucky you get to eat that. Really, why? There's two things I can tell you about dairy. At one point, I was having trouble with dairy. And they told me, oh, buy these pills and you can still eat dairy and whatever. And I did it for a little while and I was like, this is ridiculous. I just stopped eating dairy for years, actually. And then had it and everything was back to normal. And this was before I was keto. No reaction. My body was just telling me to stop having it. Stop having it. Why are you eating this thing? And the question came to me after, why was I trying to force my body to have something that every signal my body was giving was saying, stop eating that garbage. So yes, every single thing that is making you sick, that you are allergic to, you should see as junk and it should be out of the... So for me, nightshades, junk. I do not see those things as food. I'm not chasing. I don't care that you love peppers and that. I don't care. Beef, because it makes me feel sick. When I eat it, thalassemia. Junk. I don't even look at it. I'm not jealous. I don't care if other people eat it. It's junk food for me. Coconut oil. Used to be able to use it. All of a sudden, I don't know why, is causing my hands to not do well. Junk. No longer use it. Is it a great source of MCT, like quality oils? Yes, it is, but it's not for me. That's all that is. Cats. I'm allergic to cats, and I know you don't eat them, but I just thought I would throw this one in because I just thought it was... I don't have cats at my house because of, right? So like, I'm not jealous of people who have cats. Anyways, side note. I'm not eating cats. Don't worry about it. So most importantly, Wellness Warrior, I want you to think about all of these things, these junk foods. If you are actually eating them, what does it really mean? It means you're cheating on your diet, which means you're cheating on who? You're cheating on yourself, man. You're the one who's gonna feel bad, gain weight, regret the whatever it was you ate. Why would I want to do that to myself? So right away, do I cheat on my diet? Do I eat junk? No, I don't eat junk. Now, does that mean that I never make a mistake in my food? No, that doesn't mean that. Is it possible that I eat something at a restaurant, like I said, or at a friend's house, and like I think it's this and it's that? That, of course, can happen. Do I seek that out? No, I don't. But here's the other thing. Do I ever eat off plan? Oh, wait a minute. That's a different question. Do I ever eat off plan? Yes, I do. When I do it, is it accidental? Never. Never. So, when do I eat off plan? And what would I be eating if I ate off plan? And honestly, I had to think about this one. When was the last time I had something that wasn't on plan? And it was a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago by this point. I can't remember. I'm going to get in trouble for this one. It was a few weeks ago. When Pat and I went out, we had a glass of wine. Yep, that was me eating off plan because alcohol is not going to do anything positive for my body. Now, is it enough to put me over and make me chase? No. Is it enough, right? But is there a small amount of damage that happens every time you drink alcohol? Yes. Am I aware of that? Yes. Did I have it? Yes. But Wellness Warrior, again, I don't ever eat anything that is going to cause me to chase or is going to put me over 100%. One glass of wine doesn't do either of those things for me, but it was one. And that was all. And why? Because my health is much more important than me overindulging in anything. I'm not going to do it. This is all about doing what you said you were going to do, right? And if you're struggling to do what you said you were going to do, you're going to be in trouble. Because if you're struggling to keep the promises that you made to yourself about how you're going to lose weight, get healthy, live healthier, live happier, enjoy your body, enjoy your life. If you're struggling to do those things consistently, you're not going to lose the weight. You're not going to eat on plan because you're going to be constantly chasing and off topic and off target and you're going to be upset with yourself. And I don't want that for you, right? We're going into the holiday season and I want you to be on target, which means that you need to look at what foods are healthy to eat and then eat them. And this is not just about the holidays. There's going to be birthdays. There's going to be all kinds of occasions where there's going to be food put in front of you that doesn't fall in line with what you promised yourself that you would do. Because you promised yourself that you would get healthy. You promised yourself that you would lose this weight. You promised yourself that you would be there not only for your kids, but your grandkids or your nieces and nephews or the whoever's that are the little people that are coming up in the world that you wanted to be there for. You wanted to be able to be out having fun with your friends. You promised yourself stuff. Are you sticking to what you promised yourself? Now, if you're struggling to stick to that, I have a playlist on the screen. It's going to be at the end of the video and down in the description with 3 important things that you need to do to stick to your keto diet and eat on plan all the time. Because that's how you get healthy.